Well, the Pittsburgh Steelers taking down the Miami Dolphins. It broke Troy Mann and Joe Buck. They were just laughing the whole time, cracking jokes, talking about singing songs, and they were confused by the decisions of the Miami Dolphins. But there was no hurry up. But then they decided to, still now they're down multiple scores, and then they're going for onside kicks, and then they still are using their timeouts. And it was like, are you trying to win or not? Like, what are you doing? Um, uh, just absurd, weird game, but great game by the Pittsburgh Steelers. This was an awesome game by the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Miami Dolphins had been playing well, you know. I mean, they were winning games. The game started off. It was physical. The Dolphins brought the physicality, but this Steelers defense was awesome, 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 awesome. And I've been saying this a lot about the Seattle Seahawks and the Texans, that their defenses have been violent, and the Pittsburgh Steelers defense was violent. Aaron Rodgers, have yourself a day, flawless, absolutely flawless. You could tell this game was again the perfect representation as to what an elite seasoned veteran at quarterback brings you. Someone who is an elite processor, someone who knows how to run the offense at the highest level, who understands everything that the defense is going to throw at you and how to manipulate and manage and where everyone else needs to be. It's why Aaron gets frustrated. It's what happens with a lot of super geniuses. They get frustrated because people are just not as smart as them. And I'm not saying that Aaron Rodgers is a super genius in terms of his life and personal life. I don't care about any of that type of stuff. But in terms of football, yeah, he's a super genius, and you see it on full display. You see it on full display, and it's why the Colts went out and said, we'd rather have Phillip Rivers than some 24-year-old practice squad guy. And this was just a better example of that, because Aaron Rodgers obviously can play football currently. But I mean, that touchdown, as I'm just trying to grab my notes, that touchdown as my headphones fall to the ground, that touchdown by DK Matavi, oh my God, talk about violent. I mean, the throw, the catch, the stiff armor. That wasn't even really a stiff armor. I don't know what that was. That was like, get away from me. Jalen Ramsey, his defense violent. Aaron Rodgers was slinging it all over the field. Again, putting everyone in a position where they needed to be. Gainwell also, those were some grown man full body runs, right? Like, he was just not going down. I mean, like, these are the games that when they don't bring that level of effort and intensity, why you rip the Steelers, why you're like, what are you doing? This is a joke. This is what, what are you doing? And why people want to say, like, fire Mike Tomlin and all that, because you're like, this is what this team is capable of playing. Like, this was a high functioning offense and a defense that was like, nope, not today. Not today. I don't care what you've been doing. I don't care what's been working for you. Not today. Not today. Holding them to 63 yards, being we're going to turn two into a passer. And, you know, it's funny, like, this is where box scores are so fascinating. You look at this and you're like, oh, 22 for 28, 254 yards. To the point where I'm looking at this and I go, did I click in the wrong steal? Did I just search Steelers Dolphins? And then it just like brought me from some game from like last year or 2 years ago or something. And I'm like, is this Aaron Rodgers, right? This is the game right today. And you look at the box score and you're like, oh, Tulum played really well. 22 for 28, 254 yards, 9.1 yards per attempted touchdowns. Yeah, he had an interception. Lots of quarterbacks have interceptions. On a 13.4 pass rating. Oh, he was sacked 4 times, so I guess he was dealing with pressure. They had no run support. Yeah. No, Dua played pretty well. And it's just like, you know, I mean, wasn't the worst. Bunch maybe kind of came at the end, too. But the defense just completely owned this game. Completely owned this game. This is Steelers football, man. Freezing cold. It was just grown, man. Just we are getting after, and everybody was connected in this team, all right. Gained, well, goes on that big run that he had. I think it was the 30-yard, the one where he like almost went down, but then he was able to kind of go down the line, and the first guy who met him up was Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers was immediately there to meet him. when DK caught the touchdown, you would have thought that it was his first touchdown in like 4 years after coming off of a horrific injury. And everybody was just so happy. Man, you got it. Like, yeah, we're so happy to see you back. It's been so rough. Like Derrick Rose when he had his 50-point night, and everybody was just I mean, like this team cares about each other. This team is ready to get after it. This team, they're holding each other accountable. This team believes this is not a team that's just going through the motions. They're just not, and it's just impressive. It's impressive. NVS, getting that touchdown, like he's been there the whole time. He's like, "What? I've been here the whole time. It's all good. I got this." It was just a great game, a great Steelers game. And so, like Troy said, I guess technically the Steelers can lose their 2 games, but then beat the Ravens. Then you're in, I guess, because of the tie-breaking scenario, and I'll just trust Troy on that one. But I mean, they're at the forest spot, and it's seemingly the only way that they'll get in, unless the Texans fall off a cliff. And at best, the Colts start to make some noise in terms of the wild card. But it still seems like it's probably quite solidified that it's going to be win the division in the playoffs. Don't win the division. You're not in the playoffs. The Texans would have to kind of just be caught in no man's land. I feel at that point, which again, it's all technically possible, but probably unlikely. And then this is where things get kind of weird. Things get weird very quickly because you're at the 4 spot here, right? And again, you're probably not going to leave Prague. The Jags again, anything's possible, but unlikely. So it just seems like if the Steelers are in the playoffs, they're the 8th spot. 8th spot. The 4 spot, excuse me. There you go. There you go. There you go. And if that's the case, then you're looking at playing the 5 seed. And now, obviously, we don't know who that 5 seed is quite yet. But the Texans have the tiebreaker over Buffalo. And if the Texans beat the Chargers, they now have the tiebreaker. They would probably find themselves, again, it's so hard to predict officially, but they'd find themselves potentially in that 5 spot. Now you're going up against the Steelers and the Texans. You're at home. CJ Stroud in freezing cold. Like, it just becomes an interesting game. It becomes an interesting game. It's an offense that you could feel quite comfortable with. Even if you go now, the defense, like, that's a brutal defense. Going up against Aaron Rodgers, that pass rush, like, that's Josh Allen struggling, Patrick Mahomes struggling, right? Like, so, it's an interesting game. And against the Chargers, that's an interesting playoff game. Because, again, the Chargers' O-line is a mess, and the Steelers and the Chargers' defense is legit. But, like, if anyone's going to be able to manipulate that defense, it's going to be Aaron. He's not going to be able to just, add a huge wrinkle because, obviously, his mobility. But, like, they have a great passing defense. And I don't know, just would be interesting. To me, the hardest matchup would be against Buffalo, as, the Steelers learned. But, there's a real opportunity here that you're going to play the Texans or the Chargers. And yeah, I don't know. There's a legitimate playoff win in sight. Again, no predictions or anything like that, but it is on the table. Whereas like last year didn't feel like it was on the table, right? Going up against the Baltimore Ravens, Russell Wilson, like you're like, I don't know. And then the game where they ran like 50 times or something, you're like, I just don't know. But going off the Chargers again, the Chargers they're winning some games, but they are limping into the playoffs, man. They are limping. And the Texans, again, that defense, talk about violence. Like, that defense is violent, tough, brutal. The Texans on the road, a freezing cold game in Pittsburgh. CJ Stroud, again, and I think CJ Stroud's awesome. Just made a video praising him, but like it's just a different game. It's a different situation. You're talking about now January. It's going to be cold in Pittsburgh. It's going to be tough, brutal. And there's an opportunity to do some damage when you're at home in the freezing cold. It's that simple. It's just that simple. This team can do some damage in the freezing cold. Leaning on the veterans, leaning on Gainwell, DK Matavi, the Jalen Ramseys, obviously the Aaron Rodgers. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just interesting to me. It doesn't feel like, oh yeah, they made the playoffs, but like they have no chance to win a game like one and done. And again, to be fair, it's like I'm not counting on wins against the Texans or the Chargers or anything like that, but it just out of anyone that you could play in that moment, it just feels possible. I think is ultimately what I'll say. And if you have any upsets, it's possible the Texans could beat the Patriots. It's possible that you know, that that you find yourself even now if you win a playoff game and then you're in the divisional round that you could also potentially get a somewhat favorable matchup as well. So not trying to get too far ahead, but I don't know. I think at this point in the season when you have some of these games like this, it's like when am I going to really unpack the true nitty-gritty of how you beat the Miami Dolphins, where Troy Aikman and Joe Buck were kind of workshopping songs with McGraw and stuff. Like, what are we gonna do? But you got a game against the Lions that should be a tough game. I think the Lions still have a lot to fight for. The Cleveland Browns, I again, if you can't beat the Cleveland Browns, if you can't make Shador look like a rookie quarterback, well then, I'm just not going to really have high hopes for you in the playoffs. So, just got much more to say about that. And then, of course, you got the Ravens game. The Ravens got a game against New England. That's a huge game for New England. It's an important game for Baltimore going up against Green Bay. It's a huge game for Green Bay. Green Bay is going to be fighting for their playoff spot, their playoff livelihood, maybe even the division still. Again, we'll see. There could be a situation where they're done as long as the Steelers, I guess, at least like take care of business against Cleveland or something. They could be in a situation where it doesn't matter. They don't even got to beat the Ravens and they sit everyone on that final game. It's a real possibility. Absolutely, positively a real possibility. So, some interesting things with the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. Really, really interesting things. Like what, I think this image actually captures it quite perfectly. You're like, I don't know how this thing's going to come to an end, but it's the Steelers are in the driver's seat or the sleigh. Get it? And they control their own destiny, and they could get some if they get a little bit of luck. They could have a bye on that final week and rest everyone, which is going to be unnecessary for like an Aaron Rodgers O-line. Hopefully, Watt can come back. I don't know enough about the exact injury, and I just don't know how that officially works for him. And and then there's a playoff game. I think the worst playoff draw would be against the Buffalo Bills, which is possible because the Bills can absolutely get to the 5 seed. And I mean, listen, who knows? Maybe the Jags go on a 2-game losing streak or something like that, or just drop 2 games. They're playing the Broncos and whatnot. Maybe you hop up to the 3 seed. Again, probably unlikely, but there's potentially some favorable matchups in the playoffs for the Steelers. And if you now get to that divisional round, you're again, depending on who wins in that first round and whatnot, you could also find yourself with some interesting matchups where you're going up against a young team, a young quarterback, a team that's hanging on by a thread. I don't know. It's interesting. This, I think there's reason for genuine optimism. And I'll talk about this on Monday Monday. Today's Monday, right? Yeah. On Tuesday. I'm sure my first clip on the Steelers on Tuesday will be heard. I assume he'll open it with a herd and he'll be like, I told you guys the Pittsburgh Steelers are laughter going to win. Like, I told you guys that Aaron Rodgers was the man and Mike Tomlin. He's like, all you guys doubted, and I've been telling you. And so we'll see. And then it'll be fun to watch Nick Wright and Brew and try to explain why the Steelers were able to win and why, Brew still thinks that the Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun, man. Let's just have some fun. And please don't forget to consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next